Hey everyone, welcome back to the live stream. It's been a hot minute. Glad to be back with y'all. I have a few things on my mind, on my noggin that I'd like to cover with you guys today. And I'm sure there's lots of questions that are going to be coming in from the audience as well. I am happy to be here. It is a very thunderstormy day right now. It is like booming and cracking outside, and I did see the lights flicker, but I think we're going to be okay for the live stream. So if you see me disappear at any point in time, it might be because my internet has flickered, and hopefully we'll be back soon. Push come to shove, I think I will create a hotspot on my phone and be able to stream that way. But in any case, glad to be here with y'all for another great live stream. So sit back, say hi to your friends in the chat, and let's get ready for today's topic. I love being able to get to play my old video for the live stream. I think the videos themselves kind of do a little bit better when they don't have the theme song at the beginning. Anyway, I have some cool stuff I want to talk about today. But first, let's say hi to some of our people in the chat. We have 37 on today. Um, Hi to Jemiah. I'll get to your question in just a second. And hi there. Happy Friday. Happy Friday indeed. I've already been to the pool today. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Can you say someone's saying they can't hear me? Can the rest of y'all hear me? Not sure because I know my mic has, but I did just rig up my mic again and it says it hasn't said it's disconnected. So let's see. Maybe is my audio really, really low? I just bought a new mic and I'm hopefully it should be coming today. It's been saying it's supposed to come for the past couple of days. And I think the tracking was incorrect, so it should be coming today. I don't like this microphone. There's nothing wrong with this microphone, but I can't tell what volume I'm at with this microphone, and I don't think it even tells you, like, which way is up and which way is volume down. So I got a new one so I can actually tell when I look at the dials, and then, of course, I got a mic stand. The new one will be white, much more aesthetic. So today, one of the things I want to talk about is these micro credentials with AHIMA. I'm excited about these. They said soon. It looks like it might be soon. But let's get back to some questions that we have here. Uh, One of the first ones I saw pop in, I'm preparing for my CRC exam on July 22nd, 2023. I'm swiveling around, swiveling around. I've definitely been studying, but what's something I really need to study for the CRC exam? Hands down, ICD-10 CM guidelines. Everything else is so spread out that the topics on things like the STARS program, you'll get like one question maybe on that. Things like quality measures, you'll maybe get one or two questions on that. But such a bulk of the CRC exam is going to be testing you on like guideline knowledge. Things like COPD, things like your diabetes regulations, cancer codes. They're going to probably throw in a couple of questions that are going to test you on, do you know that this med means that this is an active condition and being treated for this condition? And a lot of it's going to be really testing you on the ICD-10 CM guidelines. So I would recommend um, reading through the guidelines once or twice. If you're someone that doesn't have that well of an attention span, there are programs I believe out there that will read for you. That if you just because you can download the ICD-10 CM guidelines pretty easily. So if we just go out to Google, my dear friend Google, this button. Okay. Having mental delays from, from vacation. Let's see here. If we go into Google and we type in, ICD-10 CM 2023 headlines, I really should Google first and then share my screen so that I don't have some sort of, like, embarrassing incident that everyone's like, "Ooh, what was Victoria searching over there?" Uh that could be problematic. The 2024 guidelines did just recently come out. It sounds like I haven't combed over them myself, but from what I've been hearing from others, it doesn't sound like there's anything super dramatic as far as changes this year with ICD-10 CM. But in any case, there are, from what I understand, different programs that you can use to read to you. So there might be something that you could even find online that will, like, read through the guidelines for you. So if you've got, like, one of those horrible, like, 30, 40, 50, 60-minute commutes, you could maybe record something that will just read the guidelines for you. I know, like, if you have the Bookshelf app, it will read stuff that you have in the Bookshelf app, um, but the voices aren't the best automated voices out there. They're still very robotic sounding for the ones that they have embedded in the Bookshelf app. So many people coming and joining us today. So I offer one-on-one training that you can pay for. At this time, I don't. I just have so many projects right now that one-on-one stuff just isn't on my plate. Um, I really need to get bet I know I'm trying to think who I know that does tutoring anymore. Oh my gosh, I can I need to get like a data bank of all of my friends so that when people ask, I can direct them appropriately. But if anyone in the comments does one-on-one tutoring, feel free to shoot over to these people because it's just not something I actually. So I was on vacation for like 2 weeks in Orlando, and I came back and I'm like, okay, I know there's a bunch of things that I'm working on and need to work on, and I had absolute task paralysis. I could not for the life of me figure out the next steps of what I needed to do. It was just too overwhelming. And I think it was just a bad day. Like I had one of those mild headaches and just coming back from vacation and the anxiety was just coming up into me. And I'm someone that I do have a little mild anxiety. And whatever my doctor tries to prescribe to me just puts me to sleep, which I guess it's hard to have an anxiety attack when you're in a coma. But if I take a small dose of, like, CBD, I'm fine, like, levels me straight out. So, like, I remembered to take my CBD, and then yesterday I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, let me tackle this. I wanna accomplish this by October, so let's backwards engineer how many hours a week I need to work on that," and then, like, made myself a proper checklist, and I'm like, "Okay, now I can finally actually get some things done because I wanna revamp some courses, get some things ready." One of the things I want okay, so one of the things I'm toying with right now is if I wanna speak at HealthCon 2024 in Vegas. Vegas is not a favorite of mine, but I haven't spoken at national conference in a while, and I feel like I should. And I've been taking a break from public speaking because I've kind of a little bit fallen out of love with it in that presentation sort of environment, not obviously here, but I was telling myself, like, one of the things I wanna do is I wanna fall back in love with public speaking because I wanna present again on something that I'm, like, super passionate about, and I'd really like to go and speak not on necessarily a coding topic, but about on personal branding and that sort of realm for healthcare business professionals. That's what I would wanna talk about at HealthCon, so I'm still toying with if I wanna put that speaker request in because I know they did come and they're looking for them by the end of this month. So I don't know. It's still up there in my noggin. Thinking about it. Thinking about it. Is there any places to get an updated anatomy and terminology that you recommend? So one of the cool things that I recently discovered is I'm actually doing a video next week on some different mobile learning capabilities that are out there is that the anatomy and terminology book that I recommend, you can actually rent on Bookshelf for cheaper. Let me see if I can find it here before I just start sharing my screen and it's just me clicking around. Okay. So here we are at the Vital Shelf store, and we have anatomy for coding. I think it's called. I can remember. Oh, yeah, there it is. So this is the updated version of medical terminology and anatomy for coding. So you can buy the paper book. I have the paper book, or you can get the ebook on Bookshelf, which is where you will store all of your ebooks and that we would get through the AAPC, right? You can actually rent this book for $27.30. And that's pretty much what I've been seeing. It's a little under $30. So if you're like, hey, I'm just going to learn medterm and anatomy, I know it's going to take me less than 3 months. I don't want to have this book sitting around. I'm not going to use it too much after the fact for under 30 bucks, you can rent that book for 90 days and use it, study midterm with it, and then it'll remove it from your bookshelf. And of course, if you want it for a longer period of time, up into including lifetime access, it will be more. But if you're kind of trying to keep things budget friendly, that is an option out there. Let me get back into my comments here. So I passed the CPC exam, signed up for Practicode, completed 500 of the 600 cases. Looks like I'm not going to pass. Is Practicode more difficult than an actual coding job? This is really hard. I would say to some degree it's comparable. The difference between Practicode and real world coding is typically you'll at least have like a supervisor or a fellow coworker that you can bounce things off of or ask questions of. With Practicode, it's kind of on your own. I do believe, though, if Lori's in here, and I don't know that she is, CCO does have kind of like a program that I don't want to say gives you the answers, but it's like a support, I think, for Practicode that can provide some level of assistance since it is kind of on your own. But yeah, hang in there. It's tough, but it's practice makes perfect. I think the AAPC is still working on some of those Practicode stuff. I think that's one of the parts that Bevan said that they're overhauling a little bit. But where did you print out your medical decision-making sheets from? I have kind of a variety here, actually. I have oh gosh, I still have the old ones in here that I laminated. Um, I like the ones from NamUs. I think they're pretty good. I feel like I haven't checked in the past few weeks if the AMA has actually updated their grids, but the um I've used the AMA grids for outpatient-y stuff. And I usually just print them out on my home printer, and then I bought a cheap laminator, the Amazon Basics edition, on Amazon so that I can look, that's old 97 stuff. It's it's weird to refer to this now as the old 97 stuff. Like, it's bizarre that I have it, but it's really not. It's not that old. Um, but yeah, I ran it through an Amazon Basics laminator only so that that way I can oh, you know what? I don't think I've streamed since I had this desk put together, so now I'm, like, moving my stuff around. Okay. Um, here we go. Is that's not the right camera. Come on. Come on, cameras. Be nice today. I think that camera doesn't wanna work now. Hold on. Technical issues. That was my Stream Deck I just unplugged. Where is my second camera plugged in at? Oh, over there. Come on. I don't know that my document camera wants to play nice today. Alright. Be frozen. Okay. In any case, what this is a lipstick. Wow. In any case, I laminated them so that way I can take my expo markers, not my lipstick, and circle things on them and erase it so that I can then reuse when I'm going through cases. What a day. John, I saw you're here on the chat. Are you going to DC? If you're going to DC, drop me a line, guys. I'm gonna be there. One month till HealthCon DC. Why is the self-paced training course for CIC from AAPC shorter than a year? That's interesting. I didn't notice that. But my best guess would be because maybe they think that most people that are going for the CIC already have an AAPC credential of some kind and that they don't need as much time. That would be my thought process. Maybe most of their CICs are already CPCs and they're thinking that they don't I don't know. I don't know why it would be less than a year if the rest of them are a full year. I just bought last month, the career pass, the $2,500, and you get access to as many courses of the AAPCs as you want one at a time for the next 4 years. Right now, I think I'm going through the CDEO. I don't think I'm gonna be testing for more than maybe 1 or 2 of the credentials, but I'm really excited to read through the materials and stuff. I still you know what? I've still been telling myself I need to learn PCS coding, and yesterday I actually put that on my weekly plan, and I feel so much better now because I was, like, struggling, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna have to have a plan where Mondays I do this and Tuesdays I do this," and I'm like, "No, I really don't. If I just come up with a plan for the week and put different check boxes on the tasks for the week, then I don't have to worry about Monday I do this, Tuesday I do this, and then it gives me better flexibility." Any tips to deal with eye strain? It's tough reading on a computer. So, I do have a couple of tips. I have a couple of pair of blue light glasses. I don't use these as much. Hold on. Come on, focus, focus. I don't use these as much, because first off, I look goofy in them, and and there are screens that you can buy that have blue light filters in them so they don't strain you as much. I will tell you, I struggled a lot personally because I when I would wear my contacts, it made my eyes super dry and tired, and it would bother the heck out of me. But I personally had problems because I was making content and I didn't wanna wear my glasses and my contact. So I was constantly struggling with, "Okay, do I have to light my glasses?" Because when you have glasses, if you can see in here, like, the lights are reflecting off of it, so I didn't like recording stuff with my glasses on. I actually got LASIK. And that has helped me tremendously, tremendously because now I don't have to worry about my eyes being tired from the contacts and switching back and forth out. And if I have the eye strain, I can just put on whatever pair of cheap blue light glasses. Although I will say it fixed my far vision, but my near vision, because I'm turning 40 and getting to that point in my life, I did buy some readers because occasionally I do need a little help reading tiny text, and the LASIK doesn't fix that. But yeah, you can get there are oftentimes even settings in your phone and your computers that will reduce the blue light that can be harmful for your eyes, and, if not glasses can help with that. Is it better for CPC or CRC to get your foot in the door? I would say CPC. Couple of reasons for this. So, when you test for your CPC, you test on ICD-10-CM, CPT, and HickPicks coding, right? Lesser extent of HickPicks and ICD-10-CM, mostly CPT, fee for service. Um, and the CRC only tests you on ICD-10-CM. So if you're testing for the CPC, you're skilled on 3 code sets versus CRC, which is only gonna test you on 1. If you know you, like, love ICD-10-CM and you definitely wanna just do risk adjustment coding where you only have to deal with ICD-10-CM, I would go for the CRC. But if you're thinking about, like, casting a wide net, like, what's gonna give me the best options as soon as I'm done, I would go with CPC and then get a CRC following that. There's nothing wrong with having multiple credentials. And it's not one that I would think I would wait long for, because I think then a lot of the ICD-10-CM things will be kind of fresh in your memory, so I don't think there would be a problem between going right off of your CPC right into your CRC, unless, of course, you've just gotten a new job, because oftentimes it can be a struggle to learn all of the ins and outs of a new job and try to study for a new credential at the same time. Are you familiar with e-ink monitors for coding? I have not heard of an e-ink monitor. It's a monitor that connects to your computer and you can do your reading from there. Interesting. Might be something to look into. I'm studying for the CPC exam. I purchased the practice exam from the AAPC. I'm finding the main terms for CPT is really challenging to me. Any suggestions to make it easier? So, a couple of things to consider when we're just talking about simply studying for the exam. The exam itself will be multiple choice. So when we're considering the exam environment and time management and a multiple choice exam, oftentimes it's going to be more time effective for exam purposes to look at what the answers are and go directly to the area where there's codes are. So let's say, a lot of the codes in CPT start with 375 something something. We would just go to that section of CPT and look there. CPT, unlike ICD-10-CM, doesn't have specific directions that say you have to start in the index and then find it in the tabular list. CPT doesn't have like, "Oh, you have to follow this order." Technically speaking, with CPT, once you get more familiar with the code book, and especially if you're doing surgical coding, like to me, if I'm looking at something and it's like a liver biopsy, instead of going and looking under biopsy and liver, I know, okay, the liver is part of the digestive system. I'm going to go to my digestive table of contents and I'm going to look for liver in my table of contents. And then I'm going to see if there's something that's in there that's like a biopsy or an excision, and then start guiding myself through the book, through the page table of contents versus through the index in the back. Is there a credential just for coding CPT? There might be by some fly by night kind of institution, but when we talk about our main contenders, AAPC and AHIMA, there really isn't one just for CPT coding. There's probably some courses or proficiencies you might be able to take, but as far as a credential just for CPT coding, there is not, because CPT coding is done in conjunction with things like ICD-10-CM or HickPicks. So it's not something that you would become a coder and only code CPT. You would have to know some other code set as well in conjunction with that. Da, 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 da. Hi, Erica. So Erica's saying, I recently started classes and learning how to code. What's the best way to pick the main word to begin searching for the correct codes? Hope this question made sense. One of the tips I can give you when we're talking about like ICD-10-CM, in the in 99% of the cases, it's not gonna be a body part or system. So we think about, oftentimes, if you look up like hand, it'll say "C condition," and what that means is what's the condition of the hand? Does the hand have pain in it? Is there a cut in the hand? Are we doing a biopsy of the skin of the hand? So more so looking for that action of what are we doing? Are we cutting? Are we excising? Are we, um, you know, what are we doing versus the body part that we're doing it to? It gets a little bit more complicated when we start getting into activities and things, or different types of causes, but as you start getting more familiar with the chapters, you kind of start getting more familiar with the lookup of them as well. Is Career Step a good program for medical billing and coding? I've personally never taken Career Step. I know some people that have, and they've done pretty well, but as far as any advice other than that, I really try not to personally condone or dismiss any specific programs because I do not want to get sued. Uh, I do not want someone to say, Victoria said, do not get this credential. It's a bad credential, or this is a bad school, and get sued for defamation. So I am very careful about what I say as far as schools, other than, of course, the sponsor of this channel, which is, hold on, which is Preppy, which is the program that I have reviewed and have condoned because they do have all of the things that my viewers need. So if you need to find out, like you're like, I want to get into medical billing and coding, I don't know what to do, sign up for Medical Coding Masterclass. It's free. It's the career masterclass. It's not the learn medical coding masterclass. It is the learn about the career of medical coding masterclass. And it tells you like salary ranges, and this is your day-to-day job, and this is what the future of medical coding is going to look at. And it was done by me and Grant Aldrich, who runs Preppy. Preppy will help you get enrolled into a medical billing and coding program because I, at this time, do not do medical billing and coding 101 because it is such a volume that I can't take care of it. I need someone else who I know will take good care of my viewers to handle that because it's just way, way, way too many students coming to me. I mostly personally focus on a couple of specific credentials that I train for on demand and then some continuing ed stuff. So I'm hoping to get some more continuing ed stuff done. I've been working on a few things, working on some secret squirrel things, and I want to get some feedback from you guys actually. Where did my banner go? How do I take it down? There we go. Okay, so I need some feedback from you guys because I've been working on a lot of cool videos for this channel, right? And I've been doing some interviews lately as well. So, when I look at statistics for my regular videos versus more the video podcast format, and this isn't exclusive to me, a lot of people struggle with this. When I do more of the interviews, video podcasts, they don't often perform as well as the standard videos, right? So I'm kind of toying with, do I continue when I do the video podcast to post them as my Thursday video, or do I start making those a separate upload? Like, let's say, hey, I'm going to say, oh, well, I don't know, maybe a bonus episode, or maybe every other Thursday or something, I upload an interview video because I've got a couple of things in the pipelines. And it's tough because, like I said, it's like I still want to do my regular videos, but it's nothing against the guests that I have or anything like that. It's that they tend not to perform as well, and I've heard that from a lot of different other creators in different industries as well. Um, so yeah, trying to figure out what to do there. I am studying for the CPC exam. I am the worst at time management. Do you have any advice for cutting down the time when looking up codes? So the biggest thing that you're gonna want to do is really look at the answers first, especially because the AAPC is moving more towards doing cases where they're like, here's a whole 2, 3 page note, and we're going to ask you a bunch of questions about this note. Right. So if we were to start that process with reading through that whole note, we're not going to really know what to focus on, right? We're going to go like, okay, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this. Versus if we read what the question is first and see what those potential option answers are, then when we go back and read that 3-page note, we're gonna have an idea of, "Oh, yeah, it looked like they were asking specifically about the medications or about the service that was provided, not necessarily the diagnosis." So we know what to focus on when we're reading through that note. So really look through what is the question, what are the potential answers, then go back and read the question. The other thing is, okay, in the real world environment, we know we're told 100 million times a day that you have to look in the alphabetic index, verify in the tabular. But again, when we're talking about testing purposes and we're talking about we need to save some time, we're maybe going to decide, okay, I've narrowed it down to answer A and D. I'm going to look up those codes and then determine which is right. In some cases, that might be a little bit faster and more efficient than going to the alphabetic index, looking it up in the tabular list. Now, again, for the testing purposes. Is a HickPicks book necessary? Preppy sent me the CM and CPT, but no HickPicks. I'll have to talk to them about that. Um, when we look at the CPC exam breakdown, CPC exam breakdown, CPC exam breakdown. I know it's on here somewhere. I still am having the worst time navigating through the website since they've moved it. Okay. Prerequisites, preparation, practice, and just taking the exam. Schedule now. Here we go. So here's the funny thing about HickPicks. A lot of programs will focus maybe like a day on HickPicks, 2 days. Of the 100 questions that are on the CPC exam, there will be 3 questions specific to HickPicks, right? So technically, you could not bring your HickPicks book and theoretically still get like a 97% because 97 of the questions aren't going to ask you about HickPicks. Is it still important to know? Absolutely. Should you still have a HickPicks book? Absolutely. Should you know how to code HickPicks? Absolutely. Um, it's not quite as difficult or heavily used as the other code sets, so it's not like the biggest deal breaker in the world to not know or have a, you know, mastery level expertise of HickPicks. Um, I'm having trouble finding an outpatient position trying to transition from HCC coding. Any advice? I'm also planning to sit for the CCS. I think sitting for the CCS is probably a great idea. I'm sure a lot more positions are looking for that out there. Let me think of what I got here in my toolkit. I have a couple of videos about finding jobs. One of the big ones, and people, every time I mention it, people are like, yeah, absolutely 100% is really LinkedIn. Setting up a good profile on LinkedIn. Um, don't be afraid to ask people if they know of anything or set your profile to open to work because I've even had recently where recruiters will contact me and be like, hey, Victoria, I'm recruiting for XYZ. Do you have any students or know anyone specifically that maybe just recently completed your program? And if so, send them to me. So sometimes there's things out there that aren't 100% public and that I would not share to the entirety of the world. But if I've seen people that are like, hey, I just lost my position and I'm looking for another risk adjustment coding position. And then also had this recruiter in my inbox going, hey, I'm looking for people that have completed. I'm like, hey, oh, yeah, definitely. Let me hook you up. I know this person. Um, so yeah, really being connected on LinkedIn is phenomenal and can absolutely help you out. Absolutely. Um, Indeed.com. What's up these days with Coders Direct? I have a feeling like it still hasn't been updated. It's like they resurrected the website and then it just sat there like a ghost town. Yeah, I think these are still I'm looking at the codersdirect.com now and it's still like the old website. It's like ghost town. It's like looking at the Internet Archive, which was anyway, are PCS codes required when coding for outpatient? It is not for true outpatient. In fact, the COC exam doesn't test you on PCS coding at all. It wants you to know what PCS coding is, and it wants you to know what the OPPS versus the IPPS, the outpatient perspective payment system versus the inpatient perspective system, but it actually doesn't really test you on actual PCS coding. Da, 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 da. Bridget, any advice on COC prep? My exam is tomorrow. Where can I find info on payment methodology? Let me see if it's in my hold on. So my old HickPicks book used to have a couple of pages on it just on payment methodologies. And I think there's some things in the AAPC version, but it's more so the symbols versus actual pages and lists. Let's see if I can find some stuff. Okay. Mm. Yeah. So I know the HickPicks book has some stuff about payment status indicators in it. Where's the guide of where they are? Oh, it's been a hot minute. Gotta go to what's in the fold of this? Anything? Ah, those are just general HickPicks modifiers. People undervalue the importance of the HickPicks book, both for the little bits of information that are in there and also using some of those blank pages for extra spots to write notes. Deleted codes. I know there's some stuff in here. Maybe it's in one of the indices in the back. Indexes, indices, indexes. This is anesthesia, ambulatory. Modifiers. No, there's something in the HickPicks book. Check your HickPicks book. I, off the top of my head, don't remember where it is, but I know that they do have symbols at the bottom that tell you the payment status indicators in the AAPC version. And I know my old versions used to have some pages. And don't be afraid to write some notes in there. I've been bombarded by people calling me to trying to help me find a job. I guess when I think I'm applying for jobs, I'm applying for these third part. Oh yeah, oftentimes it's a lot of jobs anymore through recruiters, especially things like risk adjustment because they're hiring for usually large projects and things. Would you be amenable to making a video of just your notes? Yeah, it would be a very short video because I don't have notes. Um, I can show you. This is my CPT book. There's no highlights. There's no notes. There's there's nothing in it, because I've not been sitting for any exams, so I haven't really I I don't take notes. I don't have notes anymore. Um, for the purposes of what I'm doing, I really don't have a lot of notes in my book anymore. Um, and the other thing, let me just I always have to be very careful about the way I say this. So the CPT book is copyrighted, right? So if you use a lot of CPT content, you have to pay royalties to the AMA. And while I understand that others might be sharing extensive amounts of CPT, I don't know the status of what their agreement is with those copyrights and the royalties to the AMA. None of my business. And if they are taking a certain risk and willing to take a certain risk um, to share copyrighted material, that is also their business and not my business. But that's another risk I'm going to take by sharing massive amounts of copyrighted materials. But yeah, I don't really have a lot of notes or note systems that I utilize. I would refer you all to check out the Batcave with CCO because they have a system and they're kind of like the OGs of developing this system of how to bubble and highlight your book. But I personally, for my day to day stuff, I really don't have notes. I really don't have highlights and stuff in my book. It's just not for what I do a worthwhile time investment to bubble and highlight my book every year because I'm not sitting for the CPC exam. If you're sitting for the CPC exam, yeah, go ahead, mark, note up your book. But for me, it's not something I continue to do every year. And honestly, when I sat for the CPC exam, I didn't have a whole lot of notes even at that time. I think I had maybe a couple of pages worth of stuff here and there. Best study material for the CPC and CRC exams. CPC exam, I would say, do I have them in my library? Let me take a look. I don't know that I do. Take a look in the store. Okay. No. Hold on 1 second. Why is metaphysics coming up? That's not even close to what I am searching for. Beep bop boop. Hold on. There it is. Okay. So, step by step medical coding is what I recommend for the CPC exam. I think it's one of the best resources out there. It's also the ones that they use for preppy. So, there is a workbook and then there is a textbook. So, one is basically practice materials, the other is actually how to teach you medical coding. It's 93.99. That's the 2023 edition. And this one it does come with some of the courseware, so that's good. And the cool thing is previous editions didn't give you all of the answers, they gave you the odd numbers, now they give you all of the answers, so you can look up and make sure that you're doing correct, work on all of the questions that you're answering as you're going through the coursework. As far as CRC study materials, I would go with the CRC study guide. When I talk about the CRC there's a CRC training manual that you can purchase if you are enrolled in a AAPC official CRC program or an instructor program. And then there's a study guide. Honestly, there's not that much difference between the training manual and the study guide. I think like the training manual has a more robust pharmacology section and then a handful of extra paragraphs here and there. It's really not so substantial that you need to spend an extra $50 on it. So I think the CRC study guide's probably one of the best bets there. When hiring companies consider the CIC or COC for having an inpatient credential, if not CCS, it kind of depends. So there's some recruiters out there that don't know all of the ins and outs of medical coding and medical coding credentials, or people that are not even I would say maybe the larger recruiters. Like I'm sure like CSI and Judge Group, they know the difference. But if we're talking about maybe a health system where they have a recruiter that's more of an HR person, right? And they're just given a job description. They're told, yeah, we need someone with these credentials, and they see something that's not one of those credentials, they might just throw it away. Generally speaking, though, I think a lot more people are starting to accept the CIC. One of the ways I gauge these type of things is I will go into, on one second, I will go into like Indeed.com and I'll type in the credential. So if I type in CIC, I can see that there are positions that are coming up that are looking for CICs, remote compliance auditor, remote medical coders, inpatient facility auditor. Like we have, how many results does it say? 343 results. So versus maybe a CCS, let's see what they're looking for CCS. Okay, 1,954. So clearly a difference. There's a lot more positions for CCS versus a CIC, but it's not like the CICs are non-existent. And it might be that some of these job descriptions are outdated. So some of those inpatient coding positions that someone vacated the position for the first time in 3 years and they're pulling out a job description and it hasn't been updated and it still says you need to learn ICD-9 or whatever on it. There's probably still a lot of that going around. So there might be more people that are willing to accept a CIC, but at face, it kind of surface level doesn't look like they are because they haven't updated the job description in a while. But if you were to maybe sit down with the manager of that department and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're looking for an inpatient coder. Do you have your CCS?" And you're like, "Oh no, I have a CIC." They'd be like, "Oh, okay. Well, that's, the AAPC's." Like they would know that the AAPC's equivalent. But some of the less savvy recruiters might not know. I'm taking my CPC exam tomorrow. Any last minute advice? Make sure you have your books and you get a good night's sleep. That's the last minute advice. And if you're taking it online, make sure that you've read through all of the stuff that they're sending you about what you need to do and how you're prepared. Like, make sure where it says, like, you click here to test your computer network capabilities, system of capabilities, that it will work correctly when you go to load the exams. Click on those, test them out, test your internet. Make sure you've got that second camera set up. No, I just have a cord. I got a big old bag of tricks all over this place. Um, but for example, Like the oop, sorry, my where is my come on, focus, 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 Face Cam Pro. There we go. Make sure you have your second camera and not your laptop camera. My laptop camera is, like, turned off right now because I use a different one. But, for example, the external webcam has to show all of the keyboard and stuff, your whole situation that you have to, like imagine this had a camera on it. You would have to, like, take your external camera and show them up to the ceiling that there's no, recording devices under your desk. You have to have them, they have to be able to see your screen and your fingers and your books all at once to make sure that you're not, slipping anything out to cheat or what have you. Um, so yeah, just make sure your setup is all good to go and that you're ready and that you've read the proctor instructions that they're going to read to you, because sometimes with those online exams they have a different accent that you might be not used to. And if it's a very thick accent, it can be difficult to understand what they're saying. But since what they're saying is already in the emails that they've sent you from the AAPC, like, it makes it easier then to comprehend what's going on. This is a great question. If I take my CPC exam after September 23, will it be updated with the new guidelines? No. So AAPC exams update January 1 of every year. So even though our ICD-10 CM guidelines update October 1 of every year, they do not incorporate those in the exams until January 1. In fact, you're not allowed to bring your new ICD-10 CM book to your exam until it is that calendar year. The AAPC exams, AHIMA is different, but AAPC exams go by calendar year. So you cannot bring an ICD-10 CM's 2024 book to the exam until January 1 of 2024. You can't bring it in 2023, even though you might get that in October of 2023. If you're testing in October, November, December, you have to still bring that calendar year's version. What was the other thing? Oh, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the micro credentials with the HEMA, which I'm excited about. Have you guys seen these? Okay. So I guess these have been out for a few months, but it only came across my radar because apparently they're saying now it's soon, like it's soon that they're going to come out. And I found this fascinating. So the micro credentials that AHIMA are going to be enrolling, uh, rolling out, Victoria. Risk adjustment coding, release of information, clinical documentation integrity, outpatient, patient identification and matching, auditing inpatient, and auditing outpatient. I think it's interesting though that the CDI micro credential is for outpatient because it's almost like saying the CDIP is inpatient only, then I guess, but outpatient isn't worthy of a whole credential. It has to be a micro credential. So, um, I was looking at the FAQs the other day, and I think they just updated these, which I think is fascinating because I was going to point out originally there was like a mistake on them where the answer was just repeating the question. So my big thought about these micro credentials, my primary thought is, oh, do I still have to get CEUs? I'm not an AHIMA member, so I guess I wouldn't have to get anything because I'm not an AHIMA member. But would you still have to get CEUs for a micro credential? How is that going to work out? So what I found here was it says like, does a candidate earn CEUs for passing a micro credential? And it says you get 3 CEUs for passing the micro credential, which is fascinating. So, like, I guess if you have an AHIMA credential, you'll get 3 CEUs towards that credential for passing the micro credential. It doesn't say anything though about coursework really yet for these micro credentials. Assumedly, like, I'm thinking AHIMA is going to have some sort of course or preparation materials for these micro credentials. But that is not specifically spelled out here. So the difference between a HEMA credential certification and a micro credential is, I guess, the micro credential is more skill set focused, and they're posing this as something that, oh, well, employers are really looking for this, and the employers are looking for these specific skill sets, and that's why they're doing it. Um, which I think is a good way to kind of put it versus saying specifically, well, the AAPC has been offering specialty credentials for over a decade and we thought maybe we should catch up. Anyway, it's funny because I feel like they're tiptoeing a little bit around some of these concepts. Like it says here, how much time does it take to earn an AHIMA micro credential? And it says the assessments have 2 to 3 hours. Well, that doesn't really tell me how long it takes to study for a micro credential. That's just telling me how long the examination is. So a lot of this seems very examination focused versus training focused, which is why I'm still just like, I'm very intrigued by this micro credential thing. What's included in the micro credential purchase? The assessment and one attempt. You take it online. It looks like they're going to use, no, it said something on here. Retest, accommodations, cancellations. I don't know if Credly, I guess, is the one doing it or if that's just the verification process. But yeah, you get a score online immediately. It is just apparently a pass or no pass. It's not like you got 60%, 70%. It's literally pass, no pass. Does AHIMA recommend education to prepare for the micro-credential assessment? Yes, AHIMA does recommend education for individuals looking for additional support to feel confident and ready to take the assessment. But again, like they're not addressing that they're planning to have courses for these. They're not addressing that they're gonna have study guides. Like, I'm so fascinated, specifically because one of the things I find very fascinating is the cost to earn these micro credentials is $99 for a member of AHIMA and 129 for a non-member. And, like, okay, so they're having a micro credential, right, for risk adjustment coding. Okay, how much does the risk adjustment coding exam take for the AAPC? It's like 300 bucks, right? Might be 400 now, I don't know, I'm thinking it's 300. That's significant cost savings if you're gonna go for the micro credential through AHIMA. That's why it's just it's in my brain now. Like, I kind of wanna I feel like I should reach out to someone from AHIMA and be like, "Can you please come on my channel and tell me about all of these micro credentials that you're going to be unearthing upon us?" I'm very fascinated. And of course, they go over the benefits of them. Is there an eligibility? Again, this is where we start seeing the AHIMA starting to now finally compete a little bit with AAPC. No, there's no eligibility requirements or prior education required for the AHIMA micro credentials. If you are competent on the subject, you can sit for the exam. AHIMA does offer educational resources if you aren't sure if you're ready to take the exam but want to obtain educational resources. It doesn't specify what the resources are. It doesn't specify here, go and read these links. It doesn't specify if it's going to be a study guide, if it's a sheet of what's going to be on the assessment. Just so fascinated by this right now. And then of course the other thing is like, because here's also my thought track on this, right? So let's say you're someone who's like, I am a CPC, but I want to learn risk adjustment. I could learn all of this on my own and test for a certification through the AAPC for $300, and then I have to get CEUs for it. Or I can test through a HEMA for $129 as a non-member, not have to pay the membership fees, I guess. And then, like, do you not have to get CEUs to maintain that credential? You just maybe have to recertify every year. See, this is where my mind is going with this. This is where my mind is going with this. Ah, oh, Emily's saying you should see the flashcards for new RHIT exam. I would love to see those. Let me know where I can find them because I would be very fascinated. Ooh, you know who would love to probably know about that? Marissa, because I think she's sitting for her RHIT soon, or considering sitting for her RHIT soon. I think she's finishing her bachelor's degree. Maybe it's her RHIA. Anyway, college uh diploma, college uh list me doesn't know too much about RHIT, RHIA stuff. Yeah, I think I think with the micro credentials, with the HEMA, one of the thing that's gonna be, a curve is, of course, like we just talked about, what are employers going to accept? Because we've seen with the AAPC, like, they came up with their inpatient coding credential in a world where prior to that, it was the CCS. Like, if you wanted to learn inpatient coding, you had to get a credential through AHIMA, and then AAPC got an inpatient credential. And it took a little bit of time for employers to start catching on and realize, oh, yes, this is the equivalent, but it happened. And I think we'll kind of see that too, maybe with these AHIMA micro credentials, that maybe, let's say, for risk adjustment coding positions, they'll say, yeah, we want a CPC or a CRC, and now they'll start having on there what I don't even know. I don't know if the credential is considered like the RAC, and then you put that on your title. I don't know. I've never obtained a micro credential before. I mean, I know the AAPC has like proficiency courses, but then you don't get like a credential for them. Like I know they have like a mental health course that you get a certificate of completion and stuff for, but then you don't get a credential for it. And it'll be interesting also, I think, to see if the AAPC starts putting out more of their proficiency courses like they've had in the past with mental health and now saying, "Oh, well, let's take a note out of AHIMA and we'll call those micro credentials." And yeah, so I don't know if like you get to after you finish risk adjustment coding micro credential, if you put RAC after your name like you would CPC or CCS. Again, this is very like I'm waiting for more information from AHIMA on this. I think this is so and I'm not the AHIMA guru, so I don't really know. Um, did you say no, I didn't say that AHIMA does not have CEUs. AHIMA certifications do have CEUs. They have not specified though yet if you need CEUs for these micro credentials. They're making it kind of sound like you don't need CEUs for the micro credentials. As far as membership fees, I don't want to speak too much to that because I'm not the guru on a HEMA membership, and I've heard different things, so I don't wanna advise incorrectly. But yeah, you can be a member of both organizations, AAPC and HEMA, but you have to earn CEUs for both of them for which credentials you have, and, the membership fees for both. Yeah, I'm not the most well-versed on AAP on HEMA's recertifications, CEU. Do you have to be a member? Do you not have to be a member type stuff? Yeah, I'm an AHIMA member and I haven't gotten any information on them. Yeah, it's I don't I it looks like they put something out a few months ago, maybe in like February or something, and then I saw it because it popped up on LinkedIn that people were talking about it, and I'm like, what the micro credential, micro credentials. Okay, I see you. 10 years ago, it should have been happening, but now it's good. All right. Well, we are coming up on the hour. You're coming up on the hour. Let me know what you guys think, especially those of you that are watching on uh the later viewing. I'm still not sure what I want to do about HealthCon if I want to put in. Think of it. Think of it. Anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for coming in and hanging out with me again. I might be moving the time of the stream. I'm not sure yet what my summer schedule is going to be halfway now already through summer. But I should be back next Friday, hopefully. I think so. Anyway, I will tell you guys it's been fun. Thank you all for tuning in. I will see you guys again soon. And until then, just keep on coding on.